Hi everyone, I'm Carlos Algazar. This reflection is your reflection of me looking at myself, looking into a shot of me talking into the middle of a camera. And with me as always is, well, a co-host, but someone who looks like a too much hair, not enough muscle, Jason Statham.
Definitely too much hair and enough of the muscles. Enough of you. How's everyone doing today? This is Mr. A filling in because Manyninjas, this time he is not battling with a bear. This time the bear is now a robot bear. Apparently it wants revenge.
Don't let the fact that he looks sort of like many ninjas by this standpoint fool you, and don't let the fact that he sounds exactly the same as the guy fool you. He's a completely different person. And to be honest with you, since we're on the subject, since he's not around, I do want to point out that as far as ninjas go, I actually think he's lying about his ninja cred. I think he's an office ninja. I think he does the paperwork for the other ninjas who do the killing.
To be honest, it's never probably been denied, but let's be honest, 80s ninjas. Everyone knows exactly how 80s ninjas work. Namely, right now they're not exactly working too much. They're kind of out of work. So that probably explains a lot. They had a lot of work in the 80s. There were a lot of stuff going on in the films in the 80s, but that's a story for another time. What we're talking about right now on this action movie show is this particular film right here. The Transporter.
Indeed. It was Jason Statham's basically his coming out party as an action, as an action star. At a little over 90 minutes, I think the length is just about perfect for a movie of this type. And we'll get to that in kind of the mini review. But can you do us a favor, Mr. A? Can you read the back of the box to give them the short synopsis of what the Transporter's about?
All right. The synopsis is Frank Martin, Jason Statham, is the best at what he does, transporting illegal goods with no questions asked. But his latest shipment, a beautiful woman kidnapped by slave traders, brings deadly complications to the delivery plans. Now Frank must kick into overdrive to save his precious cargo and his life.
Indeed. Now, I really enjoyed this movie, but the thing is, the back of the box there contains the entire plot of everything, because really nothing more is explained than what was on the back of the package. The back of the Blu-ray effectively covered all the story arc that is actually covered through the course of the movie, because that's really it. We'll get into it a little bit more in the other half, but just for those of you who may not have seen one of these before, we'll really quickly talk about what we thought about the movie without spoiling anything, and then we'll have a little cutoff where you can go and watch the movie if you want, come back if you like, and if you want to come back, then we're just going to talk about what we liked and what we didn't like in the second half. So, the first half, what do you think of the movie?
All right, for the non-spoiler part, it's funny you mentioned the length was 90 minutes. Didn't feel the part, actually. I can't say that it did. Well, 92 minutes exactly according to the back of the box here.
This is a good thing.
Yeah, this is actually quite a good thing, just because generally the film actually went by really smoothly. As you can probably guess by the description of the back of the box, as Carlos just said, it's not a very deep film. Even when they get around to explaining the general plot of things, it's still pretty straightforward in a way that everyone can just kind of mentally internalize it very quickly, and then we can proceed with the rest of the story as it goes along. So it actually goes pretty smoothly. There's no argument there. Jason Statham, in what's probably one of his first early really big roles, does a very nice job. There's no argument with how he plays his role there. Good supporting cast. Nice action scenes. Good driving scenes. No arguments. Nice watch. How about you, Carlos? What's your opinion?
No, I'm 100% on board with it. It is one of my favorite, early career Jason Statham movies, because he's actually had a reasonable length career that has extended into now the Expendables movies. He did Parker, which I haven't had the chance to watch, but I do own and I'm kind of curious about it. I don't know if it'll be any good or not, because Jason Statham movies is a little hit and miss. Jason Statham is not a bad actor, but he's not an amazing actor. What he does though, is he brings a physical credibility to it. He looks like somebody who is like a good martial artist who can pull off the things that he pulls off. So he's got the right look for it. To be like a tough guy badass, he's got that right look for it, and he can kind of play it straight that way. I just was looking a little bit through his IMDb just to kind of go backwards a little bit. And the thing is, for me, thinking about it, like, it's not like he didn't have some movies going in before this, but this was like the big one where he was the guy in it. Because for him, the first movie that I can think of that he was in is Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels. which was a really great film, really enjoyable. That predates this one by about 4 years. And then Snatch in 2000, which is another really enjoyable movie with a lot of good actors in it and a lot of great cameos. So there's a couple of movies already there. And he was also in The One. So even before Transporter, he already had some movies where he was in a couple of things. And then, of course, we've had 2 sequels to Transporter, and I believe a Transporter 4 is supposed to come out at some point this year or next year, I think. So needless to say, the movie itself, to start off with, really solid. It feels really quick. It shoots through. And that's all I'll really say about that. It's totally worth a view. If you can watch it on Netflix in your area, go for it. If you can go get it at the video store, realistically, it's not going to be that expensive because it's already a 12-year-old movie. So you can go get it for a couple of bucks. It's 100% worth it, and it's completely rewatchable if you just want to enjoy the action sequences.
All right, then. I believe at this point, since we've gone through the non-spoiler thing, the way the program usually works, to my understanding, is at this point, we're going to be giving a slight pause for anyone who has not yet watched the movie, which might be a bit hard since obviously the film has been a while, but if you haven't watched the movie yet, take this as a good opportunity. If you want to hear our commentary but don't want to get spoiled, press the pause button right now and rejoin us at this point a few seconds from now when we'll come back and be talking about the movie, but there will be spoilers from here on out. I believe it is a good pause. Let us proceed.
Indeed. So, slight change of format from the way we usually do it. We usually kind of ramble on in chronological order. I am going to put up some screenshots that I took because right now, through the magic of Google Hangouts, I don't really have the ability to play the video. I've tried it, but basically, we'd be watching video at maybe 10 frames per second. It wouldn't look that great. It hasn't come off. But I can still show some screenshots. So, this time around, what we're going to do is, I really want to talk about Mr. A, I'll let you go first. What did you like about this movie? What worked for you in this film?
All right. Realistically, as strange as this might sound, kind of referring to what I mentioned earlier, what I liked was the plot was kept nice and simple. Everyone had a specific role to play in this particular movie, and quite frankly, they played it very well. In Jason Statham's case, his mostly nondescript Frank Martin character played very smoothly there, for the most part. Very, very easy on the actual conversation. There's a specific point, in fact, mentioned multiple times throughout the course of the film, that he doesn't like to talk too much. He prefers to keep things simple. And in this case, keeping the character very simple, other than a little bit of exposition of backstory, in this case that he was an ex-military figure, fits in really well. It's basically ex-military, now kind of doing illegal driving stuff, because quite frankly, he got fed up with the stuff and left whatever military force he was part of. And he keeps to a simple 3 rules within the job as he was doing it before everything got turned upside down in this case. Indeed. And everything tries to keep everything as simple as possible. Just break it down. Don't overburden us with details. And they didn't overburden anyone with details who were watching this film, and it's much appreciated. It keeps the film cleaner that way.
Indeed. Now, I'll just add a little something to that. So, here's Jason Statham with a gun to his head. Basically, I'm not going to talk about every scene because that would take, a little too long. But the short
interruption, but I'm not sure if it's visible because I'm not actually seeing anything on your end.
What do you see?
I see right now your icon and what is probably implied to be a black screen.
Interesting. All right.
Wait, there we go. Now we're good.
See him? All right,
yes.
Great. So now, like I said, it's Jason Statham with a gun to his head. Basically, this actually plays into exactly what you were talking about. Because in this scene, literally, is right off the top of the movie. Frank Martin has accepted a job being the getaway driver for a group of bank robbers. Very simple, relatively speaking, but it's the setup for the first big driving chase scene. But the thing about it is that right here at this point, the bank robbers have changed the deal. So Frank Martin, as we said, plays by 3 rules. The first one is basically the deal is the deal. The third one is don't open the package, and the second one is no names. So he doesn't want to know your name is. He doesn't care. His job is just to transport you or whatever the package is from point A to point B. So this is all about rule number 1. The deal is a deal. He was told that he would be taking 3 passengers a certain length of distance and dropping them off at a certain spot. It's at this point where the bank robbers actually had one more guy with them, And he basically refused to drive them anywhere because he had factored in an exact amount of fuel. So this is where we're like alluding to his military precision here. A certain amount of fuel, he set up his shock absorbers to take a certain kind of thing to allow them to get away, and he doesn't want to go because he doesn't want to get caught, is the way he plays it to them. Because we lose our advantage if we have to account for more weight than what he had originally accounted for. So, try to play into this precision thing. So that's kind of a cool thing. So that's the first item. And then, to kind of again go with it, let me go here. Here's a little bit from the car chase scene. Are you able to see that other screenshot as well?
This one showed up just fine.
Perfect. Wonderful. So yeah, this is actually a car chase scene. As you can see, he takes the opportunity to make a little bridge jump onto an ongoing a truck pulling a bunch of cars, because of course there happens to be a perfectly sized gap to fit his car. It just so happens, as he's getting away from the police.
Of course, it makes perfect sense.
Indeed. So I got to be honest, I really liked. So we're looking at you right now. Yeah. So I got to be honest with you, I really enjoyed the opening sequence here because, as it says, it really breaks down to a couple of big set pieces, and then a couple of big things. And also, kind of a point that I wanted to make as well. I didn't want to deprive the people of that moment. But kind of a point I make as well is that really one of the things that I like in this movie more than anything is the relationship between these two.
Yes.
These two kind of entertain me because it's supposed to be almost like a cat and mouse adversarial thing, but really it's very tongue-in-cheek. I'll say this as the thing the second thing, the thing that I enjoyed very much about this movie is these two characters playing off of each other. You've got basically your inspector here who's been around the block a lot of times, and he's almost like an uncle or a friend figure to Jason Statham's Frank Martin. Realistically, Martin, never explicitly says what he does. The inspector never explicitly says that he knows what he does. But even as the movie goes on, you kind of allude to the fact that the inspector knows what's going on. He just doesn't care enough to look as long as the guy keeps his business quiet and, doesn't really disturb anything. He doesn't really care one way or the other.
Effectively, as long as everything is kept clean and don't cause a mess on his watch, he lets it slide. This is considered a mess.
Now, I'll quickly summarize how we get to this point, just to let you go. So he accepted we got past the first job at the outset of the movie. That's just to establish what he does. So we go to another job where at the outset he's met up in what I like to call sledgehammer over the head foreshadowing. When he meets up with the other ones, he goes through his shtick once again, the precision. He is to deliver a package from point A to point B. How big is the package? Exact dimensions, specifics. How heavy is it? Where does he have to go? Then he does his calculation. Going at the speed limit, doing this with one break for refreshment. He will be there at X time, and he will charge this much. So they give him half on the outset and half on delivery. Basically, that's how he operates his business. So he goes to do it. And this is already a little bit into the movie. He got the package, started driving towards his destination, discovered that the package is actually a woman inside of a bag that he has to carry. He took a moment to offer her some refreshment. She tried to get away from him. He got her back, but he ended up delivering his package to his destination. And before he's about to leave, we're met up with our chief bad guy, so to speak. We'll cover in a couple of moments. But we'll get to this in the criticisms in the second part. But this here is the result of the second job that Frank is offered right after delivering the girl in the package. Any thoughts you want to add about this one?
Yeah. Generally, the package itself, as you can guess, is a little less than ideal. Partway through the trip, Frank, thankfully or fortunately for the sake of the plot here, it takes a bit of a rest break, grabs himself some Pepsis, label out, of course, as you can see in the screenshot. But
no, I haven't put the screenshot in. I want to make a point here. We're going to come back to this in the second half as well, but I just want to point out, look at Jason Statham. Look at his magnificence. See how this guy doesn't look much like Jason Statham.
Shh, you're not supposed to look at the scene too well, or this This is the magic of screen caps and Blu-ray technology. We can see clearly it's not Jason Statham.
You want to know what the sad part is? This isn't a Blu-ray screen capture. I would like to say it was, but I didn't have the chance. This is basically a lower resolution screen capture.
Are we looking at this or me?
We're looking at you.
Okay, just clear. In this case, it's very poorly disguised that this is not Jason Statham, but the important part is label out. The label must always be out.
We still got
label out.
We still got in a product placement. If you blink, you miss this one, but we did get the product placement in.
Well, you see it coming out of the machine, but basically he stops her drink. It takes an extra minute to get the drinks out. The car explodes. He's sent careening into another car, exploding debris. He has to throw his drinks to the ground, making him even more angry than he was before as he gets the burning debris off of him. And now he's left for a bit of a walk.
And to be honest, we're back on the screen capture of Statham post-explosion. By the way, explosions are awesome. If we're going to have an action movie, I want some serious explosions. And quite frankly, I got some real solid explosion here. It was actually pretty great.
Yeah, this movie delivers for that.
It delivers, Simple things, people. I don't ask much from my action movies. Give me a solid explosion here and there, and it kind of works. And give me an action hero who obeys the laws of physics. Explosion causes him to blow outward. I'm just throwing that out there. There may have been other movies that we have covered in action movie shows in past where the laws of physics and explosions do not work properly.
Are you saying that the person that's responsible for this can't see that physics? Are we looking at the screen or me right now?
Now we're looking at you. Go ahead.
Are you saying that the person who's doing this can't see that exactly how physics works? Is this what you're implying here?
I'm just saying, while I defend the Marine to a certain degree, John Cena is no Jason Statham.
John Cena isn't a lot of things. A good actor is one of those things he's not.
Now, I do want to say something about this. So, explosions, this is all very good, but it all leads into the most important thing. Now we have a reason for Statham to really kick it into high gear, which means now that he almost got blown to smithereens, we move to our most important plot point. A little plot point that I like to call, Avenge Me! In this case, avenging himself.
And his car.
And he does that in this manner. Now, it's a bit of a blurry shot, but the point that we're trying to get here is that right now you're presumably looking through the peephole of a door as an angry, bald, Englishman. I think English. It could be something else. Someone can correct me if I'm mistaken. But regardless, there's a very angry man who is about to drop kick this door into your face. That's the important part.
That's a fun scene, by the way. It really is.
It's pretty fabulous. I'm not going to lie. And it leads into a Jason Statham staple in the Transporter series. We're looking at you right now, but I'm going to go back into the shot. Now I'll go back to it. Jason Statham holding something while punching somebody or kicking somebody whilst holding another thing and trying to kick or punch somebody else. Really, he's got this part of it down. I consider this to be one of his signatures. Only Jackie Chan really does a lot more of this kind of random crap. But it's very enjoyable.
And does a lot of things. He's a bit crazy that way.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's a distinct style that not everybody can pull off, even martial arts guys. Even a Jet Li. Jet Li has a very distinct style in the way he does these kinds of things. And Jackie Chan is really kind of an innovator in the way he does things with weapons and with fighting multiple people at the same time. But I like what they did here with the choreography and the martial arts. It was really well done. So this is another thing that I really liked about this movie. And you're just getting a taste of it, just seeing a little bit here and there, but it gives you kind of an idea of what that is. So let me throw it to you. Is there anything you want to add there for things that you like?
No, that actually is a pretty fair comparison. Even for the action scenes, I know we're probably looking at me right now.
You are.
In terms of the action scenes and the various kind of other build-up scenes where there are a lot of explosions and things going on there, a lot of them carry a lot of comedic elements in them, which basically just kind of help to elaborate things. It would really help if we were looking at some of the scenes that Carl's.
We're about to look at it right now. And
okay.
We're looking at it now.
Yes, because, for example, after they reveal that both Frank and now the rescued, what was her name again?
Lie.
Yeah, the rescued Lie have escaped from the complex, that they just got beaten up, or that Frank just finished taking out everyone in. they go back to Frank's place, which the very next day is accosted by all of the thugs in general that are kind of disposed of the day before, or those that were kind of left over, that proceed to shoot the hell out of the place and then to destroy what's left of it with rocket launchers.
Now, this is actually a really good spot to segue. I'm going to call this another one of the things that I enjoyed, the almost comedic overkill. To be perfectly blunt, now this is, like I said, it's going to segue because it's going to merge. I'm going to start off with the part I really like about it, and then I'm going to merge it into a thing I didn't like, and I'll explain how we get from point A to point B. So, you decide, as the bad guy, you're going to have Jason Statham's Frank character killed. Wonderful. Do you go and send a squad of guys to go and shoot them dead? Sort of, but you send them with, basically armor-piercing ammunition and rocket launchers, because to take down the villa, clearly, that you could just basically stroll into, you need rocket launchers. It's gloriously ridiculous overkill and hilarious in many ways. And I can see you balling up your fist. Do you have a moment? Is there something you'd like to add?
You're leaving out the most important part about the rocket launchers. As they were loading in the rockets, you could see that the rockets themselves are painted with shark faces on them.
Yeah, you can't really tell from this shot, but it'll still be kind of an idea.
Because when you're going to shoot a rocket at something, you want to have a shark face on it, because that makes it move faster and explode better. And were the explosions good, ladies and gentlemen? Yes! Yes! Yes.
We were looking at you during that whole time. I just want you to know.
I know it's very important.
Yeah.
You have to tell everyone. It's not enough to just say that the explosions were great and then emphasize it. You have to show everyone that you did it and how much you enjoyed the explosions.
It's very important. Very much so. But like I said, this is transitioning into a thing I didn't like. And the over-the-topness was glorious. But at the same time, I gotta be honest, it left me with a resounding feeling of this villain is a fucking moron. Like, entirely unnecessary. Enjoyable, no doubt. But even at the outset, the first explosion of this thing is because apparently deciding that, he suspected that Frank had opened the package and discovered there was a girl inside of it, so he decides he's going to take care of him. How does he decide to take care of him? He offers him another job, gives him an envelope of money, and gives him a suitcase with an explosive in it.
Yes.
Wonderful, except for the part that you're presuming he's going to be in the car at precisely the moment the explosive is set to go off. That's a lot of assumptions. Also, you could have just shot the guy.
And technically, at the point, do you have any proof that he looked in the package?
No, but later, but as we go along, when he asks him, "Why did you try to kill me?" he goes, "You looked in the package."
So, am I guessing he must have immediately had something? Does that mean he had a visual cue as like, did this guy look in the package? If I think so, I'm going to do some kind of a motion to bring the bomb. Otherwise, I'm not going to do that. How does that work?
That's my point. It's like you can go with one of two theories on this. Either he used his villain's spidey sense to determine that the package had been opened, therefore he must kill this douchebag, in which case the explosive is quite a waste of perfectly good explosive, on the off chance that maybe he happens to be getting a refreshment at precisely the moment that he's away from the car.
Well, you look at this guy, even from moment one, he looked like a douchebag, so clearly that kind of played in no matter what.
There we go.
Yeah. That's just the look of the face. Realistically, you're lucky Frank did not punch this man in the face from the second he saw him. It's like, even if he did the job normally, it's like, that's a face you want to punch.
But the thing is that I enjoy the most about this, and again, it kind of goes into, kind of a silliness of it. Looking at this man, he is supposed to be a gangster anyway. So Frank is working for, seedy underworld types. But even in the seedy underworld type, you look at this man, and there's practically a neon sign behind him saying, "I will betray you at the first possible opportunity. Be aware I intend to stab or shoot or possibly blow you up with a suitcase in an overly elaborate plan that only a 1960s Batman villain would fully appreciate." Same bad time, same bad channel.
Do not insult the Batman. The Adam West Batman.
No, that's pretty much what one of them would have come up with. That's effectively
I
the
think
plan.
they would come up with a better plan and with better music and more
No,
colorful gangsters.
what would have happened is that the bomb would have actually been a regular bomb with a really long fuse that Batman would have presumably driven away with as the fuse goes up towards the Batmobile.
And there would have been either that or just it would be a concealed bomb, but on the side you'd have the enemy or the bad guy with a odd little device there with big metal wires kind of sticking out that would rotate. They wouldn't really do anything for it, but they just rotate like they were radar or something like that. But we're getting away from the point here.
Now,
The point is, Action Baldman's villa has just been blown the hell in back.
indeed. Now, let's take it. Like I said, we've covered the things that are the most enjoyable. You know, the action sequences, there's no doubt. The explosions, fantastic. But there are certain losses of logic that defy the imagination. Like our villain's incessant need to come up with stupidly elaborate ways of trying to kill Jason Statham, including blowing up his villa a couple of rocket launchers at a time, because that makes perfect sense. To do it in broad daylight rather than the middle of the night when you'd have a better chance to get the drop on him, also. Henchmen are stupid. But also, the movie occasionally loses sight of what it's doing. So here's Frank and Lai as they're basically making their escape. Fortunately, Frank has a set of scuba gear, which, if we accept this at face value, fair enough. But I'm going to point out that right now, if you look, the two of them are basically in the clothes they were in when they hopped into the water to avoid the second of the very large explosions in this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Frank has a complete set of scuba gear underneath, and when they get out of the water, it's alluded to that Frank managed to go underwater, find the scuba tank, find the flippers, find the mask, and then also found a scuba suit, which he put on.
In this case, it's implied because apparently Frank planted that there himself. So he always was planning to jump down into, was this a well or something like that? I don't know.
Sort of. But why would you put on a scuba suit underwater? When you're physically underwater, the act of putting on the suit would take you long enough that you would probably run out of oxygen trying to do it.
Well, that's why he grabbed the tank first.
Obviously.
And it is stupid.
It's in that, you know,
Yeah.
I repeat, I enjoy this movie. I enjoyed many aspects of Commando, which, by the way, is an incredibly entertaining but unbearably stupid film. I will watch it without any problem anytime. But an action movie doesn't have to necessarily be intelligent to be entertaining. But sometimes, don't mock my intelligence. It just seems silly a little bit. It's a relatively small nitpick, but unnecessary. Little things sometimes that they'll throw in there. And we have a shortened enough film here that we can cut out certain dumb things that you include. So I just wanted to throw that out there. Now, that's the majority of what I have to criticize about it, but was there anything here that you felt didn't work for you in this movie?
I'm trying to think of something in particular. The problem is, thankfully, the film, being as short as it was, it kept it from overstaying its welcome. And while there were a handful of dumb things, like obviously the whole scuba gear thing being set up there, and the comical explanation of exactly how they managed to explain to the inspector each and every time when something bad seems to happen. So it's just, no, we were off doing something else, or somewhere where we wouldn't be able to see it. And it's like, oh, the house caught fire. And even the inspector's call, you mean the house caught fire and was riddled with bullets. Because that's entirely a normal thing. Even it seems in the film itself, they're criticizing how stupid some of the things that are going on in the film are actually are.
Yeah. That's why I said the inspector as a character was very enjoyable to me. You know, but also in the realm of things I didn't enjoy, this guy. He literally did nothing for me. As a character, he was entirely pointless. This is the person that is the father of Lai, but also the one responsible for the human trafficking ring. Other than that, there's no reason to care about this man one way or the other. He's not hateable enough to want dead, not likable enough to be entertaining. Like, effectively, the only thing he's here for is presumably to create a moment of drama as Lai is it's revealed that Lai, was doing this in defiance of her father, although it is never explained whatsoever in the movie why she was originally in a bag, presumably being delivered to the gangster guy. In theory, maybe he's doing that, for this guy here, finding her, capturing her, bringing her back to his place where then he could come claim her. But at the same time, you didn't really have to put her in a bag for that. You pretty much could have just kidnapped her at any time and just taken her where you wanted to go.
At most, I'll give you, it's implied that she was trying to do something on her own to free the people who were being trafficked.
But we don't know.
Yeah, it's never properly cleaned up. Realistically, the figure here of Lai's father was introduced maybe too late in the film in order to make a proper effect. We only learn this is past the midpoint of the film when he's introduced properly as being part of the smuggling ring.
But on the upside, scene that looks like it should be in a fighting game.
Most of the stuff in here, by regular fist point, generally the fight choreography, very good, very well handled.
Indeed. But really, couldn't you imagine this exact shot? Can we put like a life bar for each one of these guys and the timer in the middle?
It'd be actually more fitting. Most of the stuff would actually be fitting within a beat 'em up thing. Maybe pull out some of the stuff. Can we get some Die Hard arcade source code? We can work something out here.
Indeed.
It would work.
Overall, like I said, what works for this movie works very well. What doesn't work is mostly nitpicks because you're always going to have some plot holes. The movie stays short enough that the plot holes are not magnified, which is a very smart move on their part. Now, this was also another really good scene. Jason Statham's really good at doing scenes where it's kind of silly. The important thing you need to know about what's going on here is that the floor is coated in oil, which in itself plays into the fight scene. If you ever get a chance, even if you don't really want to watch the whole movie, look on YouTube, find this fight scene where Jason Statham is presumably fighting in oil with bike pedals as effectively spikes to help him maneuver around the floor.
Yeah,
and then fighting over these guys.
Realistically, that should not work, by the way. Not even close.
No, not whatsoever. That's absolutely absurd. But just looking at this visual tells you how ridiculous the whole thing is.
Yeah. So in order to keep from anyone being able to grab him, in order to land the proper strike on him, he douses himself in oil as well, so no one can actually get a good grip on him.
Indeed.
But when they end that particular scene and he has to escape by jumping in the water, he comes out of the water completely clean of oil, which, by the way, would not work, actually. Oil does not clean up that quickly, that easily.
It does if you happen to have dishwasher detergent in the water. Trust me.
I guess he hid that along the side of the thing as well. Why not?
Indeed. And he can also fly. Because you see, here he is flying out of the front of a moving tractor trailer, and rather than landing on the ground and being run over by the truck, he is able to completely maneuver his body, fly, twist in midair, and capture himself underneath the tractor trailer. Obviously.
This makes perfect sense, actually.
Actually,
even he's confused as he's thinking to himself right in that screenshot, is like, how did that shit even work? Why am I facing this man? He should have been clearly run over by the car because that's not physically possible.
But
where did he get the sweater from? He did not have that earlier in the scene, I think.
Also, incidentally, best facial expression in this movie. I really enjoyed this. Just a fantastic. This is his best contribution to this film. Just that look. Because moments after, effectively, you have the final moment. It looks like Lai's father is about to kill Frank Martin, because apparently he managed to stealthily, forget about ninjas, this man snuck up on the 18-wheeler that had been moving up until the point that Frank Martin is looking out and then points a gun at him, inexplicably because the other car had presumably been almost run off the road, but somehow this guy got to him at that precise moment.
The car he was in was off the road. They showed it going off the road.
Only to be defeated by his own daughter, who shoots him from enough range that, once again, we don't know anything about her background. How is it that she is a good enough shot to be able to do that when she demonstrated no ability to do anything of the sort the entire film?
I can explain this very well.
No, you can't.
He's thinking in the back of his head, just as he's falling down, is like, why did I teach her how to actually shoot that damn thing. It's like, I have made many mistakes. Plunk.
Indeed. She was so good at hiding this from everyone that if you watch the movie, there's absolutely no moment where you think she would be remotely capable of doing any such thing. See, it wasn't that she shot her father at, moderate range. It was that she shot her father and presumably hit him right in the heart, which was sufficient to kill him within seconds. Basically, a solid single kill shot. One bullet in the heart. From behind. Seems legit. You got nothing to that.
You left, unfortunately, you have to have the best part with the best facial expression there. It was as he was holding Frank at gunpoint. It's like, it's like after I get a review, get to take my dog back. Hopefully, even maybe her turn around, make her understand. You hear her screaming in a gunshot there. That's what they're doing. I guess she won't be coming around after all, but at least I still have you to kill. You got over it pretty quickly, it seems like.
Indeed. So, that, ladies and gentlemen, is The Transporter. 2002, Jason Statham, kind of coming out party, which led kind of into what would come after. A lot of interesting movies. Jason Statham as, kind of a martial arts action guy. And leads into, kind of his character for The Expendables. Because in this one, he does do a, brief little bit of knife throwing. So a little, to be hearkened later for Lee Christmas in Expendables. Overall, very enjoyable movie. There are some nitpicks, though. There are some gaping plot holes where it's just like, guys, if you had just left that out, you almost would have had a perfect movie that says absolutely nothing about anything. Because there's just enough enjoyable action sequences, explosions, and interactions with a few of the characters. The villains really are almost irrelevant in this movie because they're there. There's enough menace to them. But realistically, they never look like a major threat, more like a major nuisance. But the overkill scale makes up for a lot. Just the amount of silliness, the over-the-top, really we need that to kill this guy. And at the same time, basically the friendship between, Martin and the inspector, which would continue forward into the other movies, was actually one of the more entertaining parts of it. Just kind of the tongue-in-cheek is like, oh, I'm going to catch you someday. Meanwhile, he knows full well what's going on the whole time.
Yep, good start to the franchise. I can't say I remember 2 and 3 off the top of my head as much. This was the more memorable one in terms of the film series for me. Arguably, probably the best one of the series, I'd argue.
Neat. So in the realm of helping ourselves out, we'll do the shameless plugging as always. But just so you're aware, I did include a couple of links for Twitter and also for the channels in the description, just to make life easier for everybody. So, Mr. A, that's pretty much it for that one. Next go around, myself and more likely than not the Ninja will be talking about another Jason Statham film, Death Race. So. Still some action, a little more on the driving side of it, but still very Statham, action and driving, that's kind of what he does.
Yep, and as I was just sent with a quick reminder from the Manyninjas, although he's one person, I'm not exactly sure how that works still to this day, but generally he just wanted me to remind you that all his stuff will be, as usual, both on his YouTube channel, which the videos are easy to access through his website, IamManyninjas.com. Of course, his Twitter account is @Manyninjas. And generally, the one thing he did mention is he's still working on a couple other videos things. Something about a Ninja Block series of videos. I'm not exactly sure what that is off the top of my head, but I imagine he'll be explaining that soon enough. And generally, playing more Shantae Risky's Revenge Director's Cut videos, which should be coming up soon. And that's pretty much what came up in the short little notes. And also something about fighting robot bears.
Mm-hmm. On my channel, I will be starting a 15-part video series on Mr. A and Manyninjas. Are they actually the same person? They stay in the same place. They look very similar. They sound very similar. And there is no way in 160 characters you can fit that much bullshit.
I didn't say it was a one-part message. I didn't say it was a one-part message. There are also a bunch of, what is it pronounced? Asai art? Is that what it's called with the text art?
Uh-huh. So also, I don't buy that he can read that quickly.
Are you saying I can't read?
I'm saying you can't read that quickly. Good luck to you.
Well, that's why we're looking at you.
Indeed. So, that's it for that. We will be covering Death Race next time around. So, you can get, if you want to keep track of when the videos come on in the channel, you can see that at CarlosAlgazar2 on Twitter, carlosalgazar.org. I will update that with the newer videos now. I should do that. I have decided that I am going to shoot another video on the Super Retro Trio. I will just encapsulate my thoughts based on playing it for a little while, now that I've had a chance. The first one was kind of an unboxing and first impressions, the video I shot months ago that I was able to take and then edit after the fact. I've had it for a while, so I've been able to draw a few conclusions about it. I'll try to put together a video for that as well, just to think. And I'll see if I can throw a little bit more game footage, maybe some new footage on there, just so you can see something different. But that's going to be about it. And then after that, I'll kind of play it by ear. I've got a couple of movies in the back burner that I'm probably going to do shorter, kind of one-off reviews on, and we'll see how that goes.
All right, I'm not exactly sure when I'll make a next appearance myself, since I show up only infrequently, and usually related to Bearer-related carnage. I'm not exactly sure how that works out. But
you'll be back on the next episode of AMS Podcast.
No,
I'm sorry. Manyninjas will be back on the next episode of AMS Podcast.
I'd be concerned if I show up, because otherwise, I didn't even know. What are you doing next week, anyway? What's the film again? You said Death Race, I think?
Death Race.
Amusing. Might just give that a watch, but I imagine he'll be back next week.
Will he bring the Pokeroo? Bonus points to any of you old enough to actually get that reference.
I saw the Pokeroo at some point last year, actually.
Indeed.
At an Anime North local convention around here.
Mm-hmm.
He was wandering around.
Yep. So that's it for us. Thank you very much for watching. Like, subscribe, and comment if you have some suggestion for the show. We're still tinkering with the format. As you can see, we've tinkered with it a little bit here and there. Probably we're going to start moving to, pre-recording these rather than doing like a live stream, because the live stream is mostly just because of the Google Hangouts thing. But probably we're going to start maybe, taking a Skype call and just recording that, because then we can do something crazy. Like add video.
And proper editing. And not rely on things that aren't always working. Like, I'm supposed to have on the bottom of the screen here, there's supposed to be a Mr. A overlay here with some information, but you're probably not seeing that right now because the damn thing wouldn't load.
Maybe your overlay's a ninja.
No, I'm pretty sure it's just Google Plus does not work well. It really does not. This is just the version of the video you see. We actually lost video partway through, or just at the beginning when we were going to do the recording originally. Sound is constantly playing out of the wrong set of speakers or ever-changing set. It didn't even want to pick up my microphone at first, and it actually took multiple times to receive the call for this.
We're going to let Mr. Ray complain off into the night. But I thank you all for watching once again, and have a great one. Say bye, Mr. Ray, and then you can go back to complaining about the Google Hang.
All right, see you later, everyone. And why does the ninja get ruffled potato chips? What do I have to do to get some ruffled potato chips around here? At least some pretzels.
Demonstrate the ability to do some solid ninja paperwork.
Damn, didn't see that one coming.
Indeed. Good night, everybody.